Welcome to Rome. Join us on a stroll through the city. Rome is the capital of Italy and its largest city. It's located in the central part of the country on the Tiber River. It's also the capital of the administrative and historical region known as Lazio. Rome is like a maze of narrow streets filled with countless monuments, houses, and palaces. It's a place woven with layers of history, each event stuck like rings on ancient wood. Join us for a walk through Rome. We've created a series of separate videos, each offering a complete sightseeing route. Each one can fill a day, or part of it, or simply inspire you to wander on your own. There is no single way to explore this city, and there's never enough time to see it all. Our journey begins with route number 1, planned for a half day. Welcome to Rome. We'll start our journey at Piazza Venezia, or Venice Square. This is one of the city's landmarks and a central hub of activity. You've probably heard the saying, all roads lead to Rome? Well, in Rome, all roads seems to lead to Piazza Venezia. The square gets its name from Palazzo Venezia, built in the 15th century by Venetian Cardinal Pietro Barbo, who later became Pope Paul II. From the 1920s to the 1940s, Italy's dictator Benito Mussolini addressed crowds from the palace balcony. He even had his office in the palace, and it was from this very balcony, on June 10, 1940, that he announced Italy's entry into the World War II. Today, the flags of the Italian Republic and the European Union wave from the building. We'll return to Palazzo Venezia shortly, but the first stop on our route is the monument that undoubtedly captures our attention. Right in front of us, the Vittoriano. It was built in honor of the first king of unified Italy, Victor Emmanuel II, which is how it came to be known as the Vittoriano. This monument is also one of Rome's major landmarks, visible from the surrounding hills and positioned along the city's main axis. The Vittoriano serves as the symbolic center of ancient Rome, bridging the city's ancient, medieval, and modern sections. The monument was designed by Giuseppe Sacconi, who drew inspiration from Hellenistic sanctuaries, including the Great Altar of Zeus, which can be seen at the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. The Vittoriano is shaped like a modern forum, with prominent stairs and terraces. The entire complex is immense, measuring approximately 266 feet in height, including the chariot statues, 443 feet in width, and 427 feet in depth. At the base of the monument stand two fountains representing Italy's two main seas, the Adriatic and the Tyrrhenian. The upper part of the monument features a massive curved colonnade, known as the Terrace of the Redeemed Cities, framed by 16 Corinthian columns, each 49 feet tall. At the top, two chariot statues, quadragas, with the goddess Victoria, crown the monument. The one on the left, crafted by Carlo Fontana, symbolizes unity. While the one on the right, by Paolo Bartolini, represents freedom. They are connected by the Terrace of the Quadragas, which opened in 2007 and is accessible via glass external elevator. This is one of Rome's most impressive viewing terraces, allowing visitors to reach the top without climbing on foot. Looking at the Vittoriano, the prominent equestrian statue of King Victor Emmanuel II, centrally placed, stands out. He is honored as the father of the fatherland for unifying Italy in 1861. And this monumental structure was dedicated to him, with construction spanning nearly 50 years. The pedestal on which he stands is adorned with figures of 14 women, symbolizing the noble city of Italy that were once maritime republics. At the base of the monument are sculptures and reliefs representing the triumph of labor and patriotism. Standing against a golden mosaic backdrop is the goddess Roma, symbolizing Rome, with a spear in hand and a helmet on her head. The altar of the fatherland, though unfinished, was inaugurated on June 4, 1911, during the International World Exhibition in Turin and the 15th anniversary of Italy's unification, attended by King Victor Emmanuel III. 10 years later, at the feet of the goddess Roma, the body of an unknown soldier, a casualty of World War I, was buried, in memory of the many soldiers who died in war without known names or burial sites. This transformed the Vittoriano into the altar of the fatherland, with the tomb of the unknown soldier honored by a guard and eternally burning flames. Inside the monument, you'll find the Central Museum of Italian Unification, a hall of flags and banners from former military divisions, and the Museum of Italian Emigration. You'll likely hear some less flattering nicknames for the Vittoriano, such as wedding cake, false teeth, or typewriter. These stem from the monument's unfortunate history during the fascist regime, which co-opted this national monument and its noble symbols to spread its false propaganda. After World War II, despite the removal of fascist symbols, the building remained unpopular for many years, associated more with fascism than with its original liberal ideals. Today, however, the Vittoriano has regained its former glory and once again serves as the site of major state ceremonies. Military parades pass through here, and the President of the Republic lays commemorative wreaths. It fascinates and surprises visitors alike. Visiting the Vittoriano includes a combined ticket with entry to Palazzo Venezia, which is where our next steps will lead us on this journey. But before we cross to the other side of the street, we'd like to show you one more remarkable historical trace. One of the greatest Italian sculptors, painters, and architects of the Renaissance, Michelangelo Buonarroti, once lived near Piazza Venezia. His house stood precisely between the Palazzo delle Assicurazioni and Trajan's Forum. A marble plaque on the building's wall commemorates his residence here. Now it's time to return to Palazzo Venezia. Next to the Palazzo stands the Church of St. Mark the Evangelist, the patron saint of Venice. Do you see its distinctive arches? The church's facade was built using marble taken from the Colosseum and the Theatre of Marcellus. In its portico, you'll find a few early Christian tombstones, including one for Vanozza dei Catanei, the mistress of Cardinal Rodrigo Borgia. Nearby, on the corner, stands one of Rome's talking statues scattered throughout the city, this one known as Madame Lucrezia. The statue likely dates back to the 1st century BCE and was once the bust of the goddess Isis, whose temple stood nearby. The statue, however, is named after a later owner, Lucrezia d'Alagno, the mistress of Alfonso V, the King of Aragon, Sardinia, Corsica, and Naples. Romans would attach notes with satirical poems and political critiques to these statues. We recommend beginning your tour of Palazzo Venezia in the garden located within the Renaissance courtyard. And its center is a fountain from 1729 crafted by Roman sculptor Carlo Monaldi. The sculpture represents Venice personified as a woman in the Venetian doge's cap, symbolizing her marriage to the sea. At her feet is a winged lion, the attribute of St. Mark, Venice's patron saint. From the garden, you can admire the two-story arcades of the courtyard and rest in the shade of trees with colorful parrots as company. Today, the palace houses a national art museum. The tour starts with the palace rooms, with their original floors and wall frescoes, including the Globe Room with the balcony from which Mussolini once addressed the crowds. You'll also see the grand staircase, known as the New Stairs, commissioned by Mussolini and designed by Luigi Marangoni between 1924 and 1930. The second part of the tour includes museum exhibitions, featuring exceptional bronze works, porcelain collections, and sculptures. Before we move on, take a look at the building on the corner of Via del Corso, with the green corner balcony. This is the Bonaparte Palace, where Napoleon's mother, Maria Letizia, lived for 18 years. She moved here after her son's defeat and exile to Elba. We now continue our walk through Rome, heading toward the Basilica of Santa Maria Sopra Minerva. The church's name refers to the Greco-Roman goddess Minerva, mistakenly attributed as the deity of the original temple that once stood here, a misconception that carried over to the church's later name. Detailed research has shown that the temple on the site was actually dedicated to the Egyptian goddess Isis, built by Aeneas Pompey around 50 BCE. Today, this location houses one of the main Dominican order churches in Rome, and it is the city's only preserved Gothic-style church. The Dominicans began construction around 1280, inspired by the Santa Maria Novella Church in Florence. In 1665, an Egyptian obelisk, dating from the 6th century BCE and belonging to the Temple of Isis, was discovered in the convent garden. It was adorned with hieroglyphs and names of the god Atum and goddess Neith, whom the Greco-Roman Pantheon associated with Minerva. Pope Alexander VII decided to place the obelisk in front of the church, with its base designed by Gian Lorenzo Bernini in the form of an elephant, sculpted by his pupil Ercole Ferrata. When unveiled in 1667, the sculpture didn't entirely appeal to Romans, who playfully nicknamed the little elephant the Piglet of Minerva. The Basilica of Santa Maria Sopra Minerva holds significant historical importance in Rome. During the 15th century, it hosted papal conclaves. In the 17th century, the adjacent Dominican monastery served as the seat of the Roman Inquisition, where on June 22, 1633, Galileo renounced his scientific thesis in one of its rooms, after being accused of heresy. The church is also the burial site of the Medici popes, Leo X and Clement VII. Beneath the altar lies St. Catherine of Siena, the patron saint of Europe. Inside, visitors can also view Michelangelo's Risen Christ and Bernini's monument to Maria Raggi. Right next to the Basilica of Santa Maria Sopra Minerva stands an extraordinary ancient structure, practically the only one in Europe that has survived to our time in an unaltered state. This is the Pantheon. It has endured because in 609, the Byzantine Emperor Phocas gifted it to Pope Boniface IV, who converted its interior into a Christian church dedicated to Saint Mary of the Martyrs. The Pantheon is also the largest domed structure in the world, made of unreinforced concrete. Its interior can contain a sphere with a diameter of about 142 feet. Its name derives from the Greek words pan, all, and theoi, gods, meaning a place dedicated to all gods. The Pantheon was commissioned by Marcus Agrippa in 27 BCE, and the original inscription from the earliest version of the building, dedicated to Agrippa, is still preserved above the entrance. It reads, Marcus Agrippa, son of Lucius, consul for the third time, built this. The Pantheon takes the form of a cylinder, topped by a dome. It is a rotunda, a circular building with a diameter and height of approximately 143 feet each. Today it stands in a slight depression, but when it was constructed, the ground level was much lower. The portico with its pediment was elevated, accessible by stairs. 16 columns of grey granite were crafted from monolithic blocks in Egypt and transported by ship to Rome. The building exterior wall is divided into 3 bands, each with a slightly different shade due to the varying materials. The lowest level is a mix of concrete, tuff, and travertine. The middle level combines concrete, tuff, and brick. The top level, the lightest, is made of concrete and crushed brick. In ancient times, the tympanum was adorned with bronze decorations, but today all that remains are numerous holes resembling bullet marks. Pope Urban VIII Barberini ordered the removal of these decorations in 1625 because he needed the bronze to cast cannons for Castel Sant'Angelo. To avoid angering the public, the Pope announced that he needed the metal to complete Bernini's spiral columns over St. Peter's tomb in St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. This incident gave rise to the infamous saying, "What the barbarians did not destroy, the Barberini did." As you enter the Pantheon, take a moment to stop by the massive doors leading inside. These are some of the most impressive and oldest preserved doors in Rome. They stand nearly 24.6 feet high, 14.8 feet wide, and weigh almost 20 tons. The interior of the Pantheon amazes with its brightness, despite having no windows. The only light comes from a 29.5-foot wide opening at the dome's apex, known as the oculus. This opening has never been covered, allowing rain to fall inside. However, no puddles form on the floor, thanks to its careful shaping and a drainage system. Each year, on Pentecost, which falls on the Sunday 50 days after Christ's resurrection, rose petals rain down from the oculus onto the faithful. The Pantheon's remarkable dome creates an illusion of lightness, though it weighs over 5,000 tons. It's no surprise that the dome became the archetype for all domes built in later centuries, both religious and secular. It was cast from a mix of concrete and aggregates, progressing from heavier materials at the base to lighter ones at the top. The dome's thickness decreases from nearly 19.7 feet at the walls to about 4.9 feet at the oculus. The dome is decorated with coffers arranged in 5 perfect rings of 28, a design with symbolic and numerical meaning. The number 28 is the sum of natural numbers from 1 to 7, with 7 being a mystical and divine number, as it took God exactly this many days to create the world. The rest of the interior follows a similar design, filled with circles and squares, enhanced by flawless acoustics. In the walls that support the dome, sometimes more than 19.7 feet thick, niches were once carved for statues of the gods worshipped here. Today, most of these niches hold tombs of Italian kings and renowned artists and architects. Among them are the grave of the great painter and architect Raphael, his assistant Perino del Vaga, the famous architect Baldassare Peruzzi, and the tombs of King Victor Emmanuel II and his successor Umberto I. We continue our walk, and before us stands the Church of the Most Holy Name of Jesus, the prototype of all Jesuit churches. It was founded by Cardinal Ludovico Ludovisi in 1626. This church is dedicated to Saint Ignatius of Loyola, the knight and founder of the Jesuit order. Behind the church is the Roman College and the first Jesuit school. The Baroque church was designed by the Jesuit architect Orazio Grassi. Partially completed, the church was erected in 1650. However, the consecration ceremony took place 100 years later, in 1722. The church's interior was meant to awe the faithful, so it is extraordinarily rich and beautiful. The most impressive feature is the magnificent ceiling decoration, a Baroque masterpiece of illusionistic painting. The frescoes were created by Jesuit painter Andrea del Pozzo, using a technique known as quadratura. It blends elements of architecture, painting, and sculpture. Viewing the ceiling feels like a theatrical performance. Dozens of figures seem to move simultaneously, making it hard to distinguish where reality ends and illusion begins. The entire work is titled The Apotheosis of St. Ignatius and represents the mission of Jesuit missionaries. The dynamics of the figures is enhanced by foreshortening and vibrant colors. An interesting play of perspective in the church involves the dome, which isn't actually there. Although it appears to be, it was never built due to objections from local residents. Andrea del Pozzo painted it instead and marked a spot on the floor from which it can be seen perfectly. While in the church, take a look at the Ludovici Chapel on the right side of the presbytery. Here stands an exceptionally rich Baroque funerary monument to Pope Gregory XV and his nephew Cardinal Ludovico Ludovisi, the church's founder. This grand monument, designed by Pierre Legros, was erected 100 years after the Pope's death, founded by the Jesuits. As a curiosity, on the roof of the Roman College, there was once an astronomical observatory. From there, a wicker ball was dropped to signal noon, which was announced with a cannon shot from the Castel Sant'Angelo. Today, we can still set our watches by a noon shot, but now it is fired from the Ianiculum Hill instead of Castel Sant'Angelo. Quite an impressive sight, isn't it? These 11 columns, nearly 50 feet tall, are the remains of Emperor Hadrian's temple, and we're standing at Piazza di Pietra. The sanctuary here was built by Antoninus Pius in 145 AD. The temple stood in the middle of a large square, surrounded by arcades. In 1695, Pope Innocent XII commissioned Francesco Fontana, son of Carlo, to build a papal customs palace, where goods arriving in Rome were inspected. To achieve this, he filled the space between the columns, creating a two-story building with windows. "20 years later, the building became home to the Roman Stock Exchange. Today it houses the headquarters of the Roman Chamber of Commerce. Let's pause a moment to notice the numerous decoration that must have once adorned this place, as seen from the many holes marking the columns. As we continue, we reach Piazza di Monte Citorio. Ahead stands a giant red granite obelisk covered with hieroglyphs. Topped with a spire and a copper sphere, this is the Monte Citorio obelisk, standing 72 feet tall. It was originally carved during the reign of Pharaoh Sant'Ix II in the 6th century BCE and was first located in Heliopolis. Emperor Augustus brought it to Rome in 10 BCE, where it initially served as a sundial. Unfortunately, it likely stopped functioning due to land shifts after an earthquake. In the background, you'll see a building with a beautiful clock and a small bell tower, now the seat of the Italian Chamber of Deputies. Pope Innocent X commissioned its construction by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, with Carlo Fontana later completing it. The bell in the attic marked significant events for the city and country over the decades, including December 27, 1871, when the first parliamentary session of unified Italy was held here. Let's move on to the neighboring Colonna Square, named after the powerful Italian Colonna family, who owned the square since the 13th century. At the center stands a column, somewhat reminiscent of the famous Trajan's column, which inspired its design. This is the column of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor. It was erected after his death in 180 AD. The column is nearly 100 feet tall and built from 27 drums of white marble. Inside are steps leading to the upper terrace, which is no longer accessible to tourists. The column is adorned with reliefs depicting scenes from Marcus Aurelius' two campaigns against the Marcomanni and Sarmatians in 172 and 175 AD. Altogether, there are 116 episodes, including the march of Roman legions, camp constructions, battles, sieges, and the surrender of barbarians. Before we move on, take a look at the nearby building with flags on the left. This is the Chigi Palace, which has housed the Prime Minister's office and residence since 1961. Just across the busy Via del Corso, next to Colonna Square, is our next stop, the Galleria Alberto Sordi. It's worth stepping inside to see firsthand the geometric stained glass, cornices, and balustrades of this elegant 1920s shopping gallery. It's named after the great Roman actor, director, and Italian cinema icon Alberto Sordi. He popularized the stereotype of the pasta-loving Italian in popular culture. The gallery is very refined and luxurious, perfectly fitting its surroundings of palaces, temples, and townhouses in the Eternal City. We'll remain in this gallery area because right next door is the Sciara Gallery with its beautiful courtyard, one of the finest examples of Italian Art Nouveau. This building was created in the late 19th century as an inner courtyard of the Sciara Colonna di Carbonagno Palace. The frescoes depict scenes of bourgeois daily life and female virtues. The project was designed by Giulio De Angelis, and the decorations were completed by Giuseppe Cellini. Our journey isn't over yet, because ahead of us is one of Rome's icons. Ladies and gentlemen, before us is the most famous fountain in Rome, the Trevi Fountain. And the first surprise? The size of the square. It's actually quite small, so you're constantly surrounded by crowds of tourists. Remember to bring some coins with you. Ideally, you should have 3, which you'll throw into the fountain. According to tradition, you toss them with your right hand over your left shoulder, and it's essential to close your eyes. The legend goes like this: 1 coin means you'll return to Rome, 2 coins mean you'll fall in love, and 3 coins are for those wishing to get married. Judging by the number of tourists here, it seems the fountain works quite well. The fountain itself is huge, about 72 feet wide and 85 feet tall, and it rests against the Palazzo Poli. The theme of the composition is the sea. At the center stands a statue of Oceanus, the god of the seas, on a shell-shaped chariot. This chariot is drawn by 2 sea creatures, half horse, half fish, representing the 2 states of the sea, calm and stormy. On either side are statues. On the left, Abundance holds a cornucopia and a wine amphora. And on the right, Health holds a spear with a snake coiled around a chalice. Above Abundance, there is a relief of Marcus Agrippa, approving the construction of the Aqua Virgo aqueduct. The other relief, above Health, shows a Roman Virgin guiding Agrippa's soldiers to the water source. The architect Niccolo Salvi designed it, and it was a collective work of many sculptors, stonemasons, and hydraulic engineers. The fountain is made of travertine, and it's fed by water from the Aqua Virgo aqueduct, which has survived for over 2,000 years. Pope Clement XII financed the fountain partly by reviving the lottery. However, he never saw his project completed. The fountain was inaugurated in 1744, and in 1762, water finally flowed from it. In total, the construction took nearly 300 years. Where does its name, di Trevi, come from? According to one theory, it's from the junction of 3 roads, and according to another, from the source to which the aqueduct was connected. Standing on the edge of the square is the Baroque church of Saints Vincent and Anastasius in Trevi. Among tourists, it's best known for housing the embalmed hearts of 22 popes, from Sixtus V to Leo XIII. Its facade, with columns flanking the entrance, is decorated with the coat of arms of Cardinal Mazarin, who commissioned its construction. In one of the decorative masks, he also included a face of his niece, Marie Mancini, who was King Louis XIV of France's first love. We hope you managed to toss at least 1 coin into the fountain. Did you know that every day Roman police collect about 3,500 euros in coins from the fountain? These funds go to the local Caritas charity, which supports the homeless. Now let's continue our walk. The next stop is less than a 5-minute stroll from the Trevi Fountain. We've arrived at the Basilica of St. Andrew delle Fratte, but we're here partly because of the temple itself. Take a look at the building on the opposite corner. This is where the Bernini family lived, and Gian Lorenzo Bernini had his studio. He also passed away here in 1680 at the age of 82. It's incredible to stand in front of the home of this great artist, knowing that even Pope Urban VIII visited him here. The plaque on the wall reads, "Here lived and died Giovanni Lorenzo Bernini, the master of art, honored by popes, princes, and people." The Honorary Committee of the Centenary commemorated this on December 7, 1898. Returning to the Church of St. Andrew delle Fratte, it's beautiful, yet often filled with prayer, somewhat away from the tourist crowds. Here, the artistry of two great Baroque masters, Bernini and Borromini, comes into play. Francesco Borromini was invited to complete the church's design. Although he had to follow the original interior design, he left his unique mark on the exterior. Walk along the side of the church to see something extraordinary. No, this time we're not inviting you to the Teatro 2, but to turn onto the narrow street where the theater stands. Look toward the gate on the right. It offers a perfect view of Borromini's most distinctive work in Rome. The dome of St. Andrew's is shallow, almost concave, and resembles the shape of St. Andrew's cross. It's adorned with brick columns, with capitals that resemble tongues more than classical elements. It has a very tall drum with 4 arms between which windows are placed. Next to it stands the bell tower, a slender white structure resembling an ancient temple. Do you know what the Romans call it? The dancer, because when the bells ring, the entire tower shakes as if it's dancing. The decoration is unique, especially the angels with folded wings, crowned with 8 urns emitting flames, along with elements of the buffalo family's coat of arms, a buffalo head. In 1826, 2 monumental statues of angels by Gian Lorenzo Bernini were placed inside the church, and these are the main attractions for many tourists. Originally, they were intended to decorate the bridge of Sant'Angelo. However, the angel with the crown of thorns and the angel with the inscription INRI so captivated Pope Clement IX that copies were placed on the bridge, and the originals were later donated to St. Andrew's by the artist heirs. The final stop on today's tour is the Piazza Barberini, named after Pope Urban VIII from the Barberini family. At the center of the square stands a fountain that Gian Lorenzo Bernini created on the Pope's commission in 1643. We can see Urban VIII's coat of arms here, with its characteristic bees. The entire piece is made of travertine, features 4 dolphins supporting a triton with their tails. In the corner of the square is another fountain, also by Bernini. The Fontana delle Api was designed as a watering spot for horses. Shaped like a shell, it displays 13 bees from the patron's coat of arms. Congratulations! We've completed the entire route we've titled Welcome to Rome. It took us half a day, though according to Google Maps, the distance is just under 2 miles and could be walked in less than 40 minutes. But don't let Google Maps fool you. They don't account for all the fascinating details. Now it's time for the final chapter. Traps for unwary tourists. Basilica of Santa Maria Sopra Minerva. Did you know this church isn't open all day? It opens at 10:30 a.m., then closes for a few hours during the day. Unless you're planning an extra coffee break, make sure to check the schedule. We've listed the current opening hours on our website. And remember, no church in Rome allows visitors during services, and in summer, proper dress is required to cover up. The Pantheon. Entrance is now ticketed, and the line at the self-service kiosk can get long, which will impact your plans. It might be worth buying a ticket online with a set entry time, unless, of course, you'd like to take another coffee break while you wait. Vittoriano Monument. It's huge. While there's an elevator to the highest terrace, the other sections are only accessible on foot. Tickets can be purchased online without specific time slots, as entry is simply based on opening hours. Besides the interior museums, your ticket includes access to the Viewpoint Terrace and the nearby Palazzo Venezia, which you can visit anytime within 7 days. Palazzo Venezia. Entrance to the inner courtyard and garden is free, providing a shaded place to rest, regardless of whether you plan to tour the palace's interior today or on another day. The Trevi Fountain. There's always a crowd here. and paid access is in the works. So this will be another spot that requires planning. And a fun fact, tourists toss coins in constantly, even when there's no water. So it seems the wishes still work. Church of St. Ignatius of Loyola. It's hard not to be captivated by the ceiling frescoes, which can even make your neck pain from looking up. Notice the special mirrors placed at perfect angles to reflect the entire fresco. But if the line for the mirror is too long, look for the dark circles on the church floor. Stand on one and you'll have a perfect view looking up. Staying hydrated. Walking around Rome can be exhausting, especially in the heat, so it's essential to stay hydrated. There are many fountains in the city, and many of them provide drinking water, although some of them already operate in a closed circuit, using the same water. For peace of mind, we recommend the Major's water, that is, free water, from the small black fountains, or nasoni, as the locals call them. You can drink directly by blocking the lower spout to make a drinking stream, or fill your own bottle. Just try not to splash yourself. Italian cuisine. Italian food is irresistible. It's hard to pass up dishes made with fresh, handmade pasta. But the queen of Rome's menu is pizza, beloved by everyone here. Whether you buy it by the slice or as a whole, it's always delicious. Roman pizza is thin, light, and has a crispy crust with a variety of toppings. And if you are in a hurry, grab a supli, a savory fried bowl, usually filled with rice, tomato sauce, and melty cheese. You've got to try it, at least once. You'll love it. Finish up with coffee and tiramisu, or gelato, and an ordinary day in Rome becomes extraordinary. And finally, our tour ends at Barberini Square, where there's a metro station. If you plan to head home by metro, be aware that Rome's metro is usually packed, especially the trains from Barberini Square toward Termini station. If you're not too far from your destination, we recommend walking. Thank you for watching our video. We hope it inspires your trip or brings back memories of the Eternal City. We're working on a few longer walking tours around Rome, so be sure to come back and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. As they say, ciao Roma, ci vediamo!